Hey homeschoolers, I'm Melissa Webb, former full-time classroom teacher and homeschool mom turned full-time business CEO and encourager to homeschool families everywhere. Yes, I want to give you sound, educational, practical tips and advice, at the same time making sure that you're enjoying the family journey that you are on. So if you are looking for a place to be encouraged and inspired, you have found the perfect podcast. Homeschooling is a work of heart is truly the perfect place to start. So welcome. Let's jump in. Hey there, homeschoolers. I hope this week's podcast finds you feeling absolutely fantastic, loving the season that you are in and enjoying your time with your family. Whatever you are doing right now, I am so glad you are making time to include me as part of your day. It really means so much to me, and I just want to thank you for that. Recently, I was in a store and this child, kind of a tween age, was very upset, clearly, at her mother. And I heard her say, "Mom, you're so extra. Stop crashing out on me." Now, I don't know if you have picked up on some of the slang of this current generation. It cracks me up. So if you're not familiar with it quite yet, I can translate this sentence for you. You and I would have said something more like, "Mom, stop overreacting." Do you overreact? I certainly have, and always for a very good reason. I feel like I should throw that in there. Usually I am excessively tired or run down, or I'm being pulled in multiple directions. I'm feeling heavily pressured, and before you know it, I have just overreacted. And I would say, especially as a homeschooling parent, that added a whole other layer. So, I taught in a classroom for years. I ended up homeschooling 2 of our 3 boys. So I can tell you about both worlds. And here's the thing. When you are a classroom teacher and everything's just feeling like a bit much, you know that a bell will ring and it will be recess, or it will be lunch, or it will be afternoon recess, or it'll be the end of the day. And you know that at that point, the kids are going to walk out and go play, or you're going to head to the teacher break room to escape, to have colleagues to kind of share your struggles with. And on a really hard day, you could even take the half day off and say, "I need a sub for the rest of my day." But here's what you can't do as a homeschooling teacher. Any of that. So homeschooling just adds a whole other layer. You don't get the bell or the break room, and a sub teacher, hard to come by. So what does happen? We react. We often even overreact. But what should we do instead? And this week, that's exactly what we're going to talk about. I thought this might be a really good week. That mother-daughter experience opened it up for me. And I thought this would be a good time, because I think it's a stressful time of year for a lot of us, that we could talk about strengthening our response muscles. Our reaction muscles don't need any practice or strengthening. That's just automatic. But I think the response muscles, those could use some strengthening, because responding instead of reacting does result in calm over chaos, or sanity over spiraling. I don't know. I'm trying to keep my alliterations going there. Here's the thing. Reacting is fast and it's emotional. Responding is slower and intentional. One of those is going to drain you, and it does create havoc. It can make things worse, whereas the other can help us stay calm and ultimately build better relationships. So, which do you want? You ready? Reaction versus response. I really do believe that one, awareness is key. Being aware of which one you're choosing in any given time is a game changer. So first, we're just going to tap into awareness. You may not make any overnight changes. That's okay. Let's just build up awareness first. But when you can choose response over reaction, I'm telling you, it's a game changer. It's a skill that will change everything for you moving forward. And here's what I notice. in other people, of course, but I also speak here for myself. I used to be far more reactive, and I am now far more thoughtful in my response. So reactions look like this. They're automatic, they're fast, they're led by emotions. It's what happens before your brain starts thinking of a better choice. And it can sound like yelling or snapping or lecturing or even just shutting down. Now, that's different than responding. Responding is intentional, it's slower, it's led by thought and by thinking. It uses the prefrontal cortex, that thinking part of our brain, and it sounds very different. It's calm. It's still firm. It's very clear. Even though inside a person could be upset, you're not going to hear that in a response. And the thing is that when emotions spike, our amygdala, that part of our brain, does take over. And that prefrontal cortex, right behind where our forehead is, that's the part that handles reasoning and impulse control and even decision making. When we react, that just temporarily goes offline. And there is a name for it. It's called an amygdala hijack. Have you heard that term? You probably have. There's a gentleman by the name of Daniel Goleman. He wrote a book, I want to say in the 90s, on emotional intelligence. So growing up, there was a lot of talk about IQ, and IQ always had to do with the knowledge of what your brain knows and understands. But then in comes Daniel Goleman, and a whole new thought comes into play, and that's what we refer to as emotional intelligence, or EQ. So EQ is how we handle those feelings, those emotions of ourselves, of course, but also even around others. So my husband, Greg, he is in neuroscience pharmaceutical sales, and he talks to doctors all the time. He's been in sales for years. And one of the things that these big corporate companies are doing these days is they are having people take their EQ tests, and it's all about colors. Are you green? Are you blue? Are you red? Are you yellow? I think those are the 4 colors. And these have been around for a while now. Like I said, that book came out in the 90s. But a lot of companies are using them because knowing your EQ, knowing your strengths when it comes to emotions, can be very helpful. So by all means, dig deeper into that if it's interesting to you. I do think it is interesting as well. But just to give you an overview of what it is, I want you to think of IQ as knowing what to say in, a hot situation where you might want to respond or react. IQ is like, I know what I want to say, but EQ is choosing how and when to say it. So emotional intelligence is super important, and we let that go when we react. You must be taking control of the amygdala, control those emotions. It's very important. Let's say you're driving on the freeway and you get cut off. So IQ understands that wasn't personal, most likely. That's their issue. Maybe they're a terrible driver. Maybe it's a emergency situation. And somebody with low EQ is going to just blast the horn. That's reactive. However, if you are going to be more responsive, that high level of EQ looks like staying calm and not letting it ruin your mood or your day or make poor choices. IQ would be knowing right now I am overwhelmed. I have a lot that I'm doing, and that's why I'm feeling this way. Great. But EQ is knowing that you could pause and not take it out on people around you. Somebody who asks you for one more thing, the straw that breaks the camel's back, that kind of thing. If you can control your emotional intelligence and teach this to your children, it will serve you not just now, but in the long run as well. Did you know that reacting is actually a learned habit? That's good news. It is, because it's not a character flaw in you. Many of us were raised in reactive homes or had reactive parents. Even teachers, I think, used to be far more reactive. Now, this could be such a good journal topic where you could explore. Does anything come up for you? Like, what did it look like and feel like as a child? Did you have reactive parents, reactive siblings? And how are you repeating any of that? Or you could also journal the ways you've changed this for your family. Be a good 10-15 minute journal prompt right there. Make some hot coffee, hot cocoa, hot tea, and just give yourself some time to kind of think about it. I do want to give you some practical applications that you could put into play. I've researched a few techniques that have worked for others. I would say I've tried all of them myself over time, and you probably have too. But what we're going to do is we're going to just bring them to the top of your mind. And especially right now, if you're like, this is exactly what I needed to hear because I kind of feel like my fuse has been very short, then this is exactly what you need. Try them again. By all means, keep me posted. Let me know if there's something else that is super effective for you. So the first one I want to talk about is called the pause practice. So let's just put us in a situation, okay? We're in a store and you have two kids with you and they are bickering and fighting and pulling and shoving. You know what I'm talking about? You want to scream. Like that's your reactive state, is like you want to just scream at them, maybe even physically pull them away from each other. That would be reactive. But instead, if you want to practice the pause, you would just choose to respond by not speaking. You literally are going to pause. And it's a 5-second count where you take a deep breath in, count to 5, and then let it out and count to 5 again. Now, according to Goleman, even just a 5-second pause releases the amygdala and it brings the thinking brain back online. That's how quickly it can happen. You've got to try it. See what you think. A second practical thing worth giving a shot is to name it to tame it. Okay, so we could be in the same situation. And whereas your brain wants to judge and assess and evaluate what's going on, so your brain's going to want to react. It's going to be like, the kids are fighting, the kids are being noisy, the kids are mad at each other. That's going to put you into a reactive state. It just will. And it's fine. You're recognizing that. But in turn, you then become reactive. So instead, try this. Name how you're feeling in your head, just silently. So you note what they're doing and those thoughts start coming and you, again, take that pause and then you just say, this is frustrating me, or this is overwhelming me. Take the pause breath again if you need to, but name what's happening inside you. And I will tell you why that works. When we name our emotions, and this is so good for children to learn how to do this, intensity is reduced on that emotional feel immediately. You begin to rationalize. And so rationalizing puts you back into IQ. And so now you're moving into your prefrontal cortex. You're going to be able to make a better decision. The third suggestion, and again, I kind of like these all work really well together. Just take note of your body posture. This body posture practice is important because when things like this are happening, we tense up. So you take your breath, you're breathing in, you're like, this is frustrating, this is embarrassing. I'm going to drop my shoulders. I'm going to unclench my jaw. You might even, if you're standing, push up onto your tippy toes, then feet flat back on the floor. And know that you're doing this because the body does lead the brain. So when you take control of your body, if you're thinking like, I can't control my mouth right now, I can't control my emotions right now, what you can control is your body, and your body will lead your brain. And the other thing, and I have done this one as well, is I have just a few lines that I fall back on. I just kind of like words that work. It could just be me saying, kiddos, we're going to talk about this later, but right now we're going to move over to this section, or right now we're leaving the store. Right now we're not going to buy what we were going to buy, and you stay very calm. You also could just say, I need a minute. The two of you must stop. I just need a minute to breathe. Or in other situations, maybe something at home, a quick little sentence like, I need to think. Let me think. Again, putting these words out that are not reactive, they're more thoughtful. What they're going to do is stop a reaction from happening. And just remember, reactions are when your emotions are out of control. But when we can do any of this or all of this, we refocus our mind. And all of a sudden, where you felt out of control, you're back in the driver's seat. And that feels good. That totally feels good to be back in control. When we spiral with our emotions out of control and we're reactive and the kids are reactive, because that's a whole mirroring thing. We'll talk about that later. But you want to lead by example. It's good for so many reasons. But I do have a few other thoughts that may matter too. So I want you to try these on to see how they fit. These are things I believe. And you could disagree with me if you want, or you could agree if you choose. That's the beautiful thing about thoughts. Pick them and choose them. Try them on, see how they fit, keep them, discard them. Totally up to you. But here are a couple of things I believe. Calmness does not equal weakness. Some people don't believe that. Some people are like, if you are not reactive, you're saying it's okay for your kids to fight in a store. I disagree. I think it's far more strategic. Calmness does not equal weakness. I see it as a strength. So if you like that, you're like, yep, I'm remembering that. Calmness is not weakness. It's not. The second thought that I believe, and I share it with you, is responding still includes boundaries and offers clear expectations. That's why I said in the one response, if I were to say to my boys, hey, guys, the fighting needs to stop. We're going to talk about this later. Behavior in a store, not cool. Like I would still have that conversation. It's very clear. I'm not okay with this. We're going to talk about it later. But I responded. I didn't just react. I didn't scream at them. I didn't pull them by their arm. I didn't drag them out of the store. I just responded. And my boys certainly got to a point where they're like, oh, she's mad. Nobody else, I'd be smiling to everybody else, but they would just know. They'd be like, ooh, we're going to get a talking to in the car. And that's fine because I had all that time to think it through. What did I want to say? How do I want to say it? Again, putting myself back into the driver's seat. Of course, we cannot control every outcome. Chaos and havoc are going to stop in to visit you from time to time. But you can control so many things. You can control your pause and your tone and your next choice. Who knows? If that mom that I heard at the store this week actually tunes into this week's podcast, before we know it, I bet her kiddos instead will be saying something like, Mom, you're the GOAT. And yes, that is a compliment. Right on. Well, thanks so much for tuning in and listening this week. Hey, if this was something that you found valuable, don't forget you want to subscribe or follow so that every time a new episode is dropped, you'll be the first to know. And hey, before you go, if you are looking to get some of this academic writing under your belt and outsourced so that it's one less thing, freeing you up to enjoy more time with your family, hey, you're going to want to head over to writeonweb.com to see what kinds of resources and materials I have available for you. I will look forward to seeing you there, and I will look forward to seeing you here in our next episode. Right on.